If your timing falls apart the second the drummer drops out, you're not alone, and your metronome might be part of the problem. I used to think I had pretty decent time. I spent a lot of time practicing with a metronome, and I could play cleanly, stay in sync with backing tracks, and hit every note right on the beat. But anytime I was in a band setting and the drummer dropped out for more than a bar or two, I'd lose it. I'd speed up a little when I got excited, or I'd slow down when things got tricky. It wasn't always enough to be obvious to me in the moment, but it was definitely noticeable to the rest of the band. And it turns out that's not just a me problem, it's a brain problem and a metronome problem. I recently read Molly Gebrian's excellent book, Learn Faster, Perform Better. And there was one idea in there that surprised me and hit me hard. When you practice with a metronome clicking on every beat, you're not developing your internal sense of time at all. You're outsourcing it to the metronome. It turns out that key parts of your brain shut down the moment you turn on a metronome. Here's what the neuroscience says according to Gebrian. When you're keeping time on your own, the sensory-motor loop in your brain is what's doing the work. It's coordinating your movements with the sounds you produce and helping you maintain a steady pulse. But when there's any kind of external timekeeper, a backing track, a drummer, or our old friend the metronome, those timing areas in your brain essentially shut off. It's like they're thinking, someone else is doing that job, so I can just chill. And that's why you can play perfectly in the practice room and still fall apart live when you have to keep the time on your own. Now, don't get me wrong, old school metronome practice still has a ton of value. If you're learning something new and struggling to stay in time, definitely use it. Start slow, play it clean, gradually speed things up, maybe even overshoot your target tempo a little to give yourself a buffer for performance pressure. But once you get it under your fingers, that's when you need to shift strategies. You need to get the sensory-motor loop to stay engaged, and the first trick is to make your brain do a little more work. I originally heard a version of this in an interview with Carol Kay, who was the legendary bassist from the Wrecking Crew. The idea is that you take your metronome and cut the tempo in half, but don't think of the clicks as being the downbeats. Instead, you try to hear them as beats 2 and 4, the backbeat. So if you're in 4/4 time at 100 BPM, set your metronome to 50 and try to hear it like it's hitting on 2 and 4, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It can be a little hard to flip how you hear the clicks to the backbeat, but naming the beats out loud can help. Start by counting 2 on the first click and then keep cycling through. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. After a few beats, your brain will get it, and then you can start playing along. Some metronome apps make this a little easier by giving you a visual representation of all the beats, and you can mute the ones you don't want to hear. For years, I've used an app called Tempo for this, but it's become a pretty standard feature. Now, having the clicks just on the backbeat helps a little, but it doesn't go quite far enough. You could keep removing clicks, going down to 1 click per bar or 1 click every 2 bars, but doing that gets really challenging really fast, and there's actually a better way to do it. Before I show you that, I just want to mention that this video is sponsored by my Gold and Platinum tier members on Patreon, which is why there are no ads on this video. If you're interested in diving deeper into understanding how the guitar fretboard works and learning how to improvise without juggling a million scale patterns in your head, check out the Fret Science Patreon. Gold and Platinum tier members have complete access to my courses, starting off with Improv 101, which can get any guitar player confidently improvising over chord changes in just a matter of weeks. You can find out more at fretscience.com. Okay, back to building up your internal sense of time. The real game changer is a feature in an app called Time Guru that was created by Avi Bortnick. He's a pro guitar player who toured in John Scofield's band. Time Guru's killer feature is that it can randomly mute the clicks. You set the muting percentage and the app will just mute beats at random. Even better, you can have it start with no muting and gradually ramp up the percentage of muted clicks as you play. When I use it, I like setting it to click on beats 2 and 4 and to ramp up to about 70% muting. Sometimes you get a bunch of clicks in a row, but sometimes it goes dead silent for 3 or 4 bars at a time. You're forced to keep the pulse going internally because you never know for sure when the next click is coming. And that keeps the sensory motor loop doing its job. Here's what it sounds like to practice with. I'll just play eighth notes. This kind of practice can be surprisingly hard at first, but there are a couple of things you can do that help. The first is to move your body. Tap your foot, nod your head. In the book, Gebrian suggests walking in place while you play. It turns out that physical motion helps keep the sensory motor system active, and any of those motions I just suggested are a lot steadier than what you're probably doing with your hands when you're playing. The other trick is to subdivide the beat in your head. If the click's on the quarter note, try mentally counting in eighth notes or sixteenths. If I were to do it out loud for eighth notes, I'd say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Or for sixteenths, I'd say 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. It turns out that maintaining a beat gets harder the slower the tempo is, and adding in those subdivisions is like doubling or quadrupling the speed. To practice this, I recommend starting without your guitar. Start with simple rhythms and either speak them out loud or clap them or both. You should be able to do quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, or eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and triplets, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a, and 16th notes, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. And once you can do each subdivision on its own, try shifting subdivisions every 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. When you can do that with clapping or with your voice, try it with your guitar. You can just pick one note or you can strum a chord. And then try applying it to real music. Pick a part you have under your fingers and start with the app at a low muting percentage, and then ramp up as you build confidence. I recommend practicing with the Time Guru app for 5 to 10 minutes a day. It'll improve your internal clock and your sense of time dramatically, and your bandmates will thank you later. I'll put links to Molly Gebrian's book and the Time Guru app in the video description. If this video was helpful, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. If you want to learn every scale that matters across the entire fretboard in just 15 minutes, check out this video. And if you want to learn to improvise on guitar with confidence, come find out more about the Improv 101 course at fretscience.com. I'll see you next time.